Okay, our notes today are going to be for finding the slope of a line when we're given a table of the ordered pairs. So you see here, I have a table, I have x values and y values. And basically what we're going to figure out is we're going to figure out the change in x and the change in y. So the change in x and the change in y as we move from each ordered pair. And the way you will see this written most often is like so. You'll see a little triangle and then the letter and a little triangle and the letter again. And that is how you'll represent change in x and change in y. Okay, I'm just going to move this out of the way a little bit so we can figure out these changes. So to go from -2 to -1, I would add 1. And to go from -6 to -3, I would add 3. So in our rise and run over here, I would put my rise or my change in y was +3 and my run was +1. Then we look at our next set. To go from -1 to +3, I would be adding 4. And to go from -3 to +9, I would be adding 12. So that would be 12 over 4. Let's look at our third ordered pair here. To go from 3 to 5, I'm adding 2. 9 to 15, I'm going to add 6. So my rise is a +6, my run is a +2. And no matter how I simplify these, how I divide them, I'm going to end up with an m value of 3. So that is how I'm going to use a table to find my slope. I'm going to see what the change is between my x and my y values, and then just again look at the rise over run using those values we figured out. Alright, so let's look at some examples. For example 1, we're going to use the following points. So we're going to have -2, 8, -1, 4, 2, -8, 4, -16. The first thing we're going to identify is our rise and run. We're going to look at those changes in x and in y. So to get from -2 to -1, I add 1. To get from 8 to 4, I would subtract 4. So that's going to be, if I'm looking at m as my rise over run, or my change in y over change in x, I would have -4 over +1. To go from -1 to +2, that's going to be +3. 4 to -8, -12. So -12 over 3 for my rise over run. Then I'm going to be adding 2 and subtracting 8. So I'm going to have -8 over +2. And any way I divide these, I get a slope or an m value of -4. So that would be our slope here. Okay, for example 2, we're going to use the following ordered pairs. So -4, +3, -2, +3, 0, 3, 2, and 3. So each time we notice that I'm adding 2 for my x value. So each time I'm adding 2 for my x value. And really easy, we can look at our y values and notice, hey, there's no change there. So we can just put +0, +0, +0 for those changes. So when I come down here and do my rise over run, my change in my y values, my rise is going to be 0, and my run is going to be a +2. And when I divide 0 by 2, I'm going to get 0 for my slope. So that would be our answer. Example 3 and 4, I'm going to go ahead and fill in the ordered pairs for you, and then you can try those 2 examples on your own and then check with the rest of the video. So I'm going to go ahead and fill these values in, and once I do, and once you fill them in on your paper, if you want to pause the video, feel free to do so you can check your understanding here. Okay, for example 3, we would do the following. When we're finding m equals rise over run, we're going to find these differences. So to go from -5 to -1, I'm going to be adding 4. And to go from -6 to 0, I add 6. So my rise, or my change in my y values, is going to be 6. My run, or my change in x, is going to be 4. Then I look at the next one. To go from -1 to +1, I'm going to add 2. To go from 0 to 3, I add 3. So that's going to give me 3 over 2 for my rise over run. And lastly, I add 2, I add 3, and I get 3 over 2 once again. And then any way I simplify these, I would end up with a slope of 3 over 2. For example 4, we see that all of our changes in our x values are +0. So my x value does not change, so let's look at our y values. I'm going to add 1, and add 3. So when I do m equals rise, or my change in y values, over run, change in x values, I'm going to get 1 over 0, 1 over 0, and 3 over 0. But no matter how I write that, what that ends up representing is an undefined slope. Remember, if your calculator gives you an error, that means that there is no slope, or the mathematical term, there's an undefined slope. And that is how you find slope from a table. We're going to do practice with this in class tomorrow. Make sure your notes look just like mine, and have a great rest of your day.